All right, strap in everyone, because today we're going deep, deep into the circulatory system, the one that's keeping you alive as we speak.
No pressure.
Haha, no pun intended. But seriously, you sent over your bio notes, and whoa, this is some dense stuff.
You can be, yeah.
But no worries, we're going to break it down, make it digestible, whether you're prepping for that big exam or just want to impress your friends with some bio trivia.
Exactly. We'll cut through the jargon and make sure you get a good grasp of how it all works. The heart, the vessels, the blood, the whole circulatory shebang.
Because honestly, sometimes it feels like magic, right? All this
Yeah.
stuff constantly moving inside us, delivering oxygen, hauling away waste, even fighting off those microscopic invaders.
It really is pretty remarkable. And the thing is, it's not just some random chaos in there.
Right.
It's a beautifully orchestrated system with each part playing a specific role. Kind of like a bustling city.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, think of it. You've got delivery trucks rushing around, sanitation workers keeping things clean, security guards patrolling every corner.
Okay, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's making this whole circulatory thing way more concrete. So let's break it down. Starting with the basics. What is the circulatory system in a nutshell?
At its core, it's a closed loop of three key players: the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood itself, all working together to transport vital substances throughout your entire body, ensuring every cell gets what it needs to function.
So it's like a complex delivery network, but instead of packages, we're talking about oxygen, nutrients, hormones,
Yeah.
the good stuff.
Precisely. And of course, got to get rid of the waste products too, like those return packages after an online shopping spree.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But it's not just about delivery and waste removal, right?
Mhm.
My notes also mention fighting off infections and even stopping bleeding. How does that fit in?
Ah, that's where the blood cells come in. They're like the specialized units of our circulatory city. Some are designed to attack invaders like bacteria and viruses, while others are responsible for patching up any leaks in the system. Like when you get a cut.
Okay, so we've got the heart pumping, the blood vessels transporting, and the blood carrying all this essential cargo and specialized units. Let's zoom in on the heart first, the engine of this whole operation. What makes this thing tick?
The heart is basically an incredible pump, a muscular organ divided into four chambers, two atria and two ventricles. Think of the atria as receiving chambers and the ventricles as powerful pumps.
So the atria are like the loading docks, receiving blood from the body and lungs, and then the ventricles are the trucks pumping that blood back out.
Perfect analogy. And just like any well-organized shipping company, we have valves in the heart that act like one-way doors, ensuring the blood flows in the right direction.
Clever. But what makes the heart contract? Is there, like, a tiny person in there squeezing it?
Haha, not quite. The heart contracts thanks to a special type of muscle called the myocardium. It's a tireless worker, contracting rhythmically and continuously throughout our entire lives.
Wow, talk about dedication. Now, my notes mention diastole and systole. Those two phases of the heartbeat, what's going on there?
Those terms basically describe the two main actions of the heart relaxation and contraction. Diastole is the relaxation phase when the heart fills with blood. Imagine taking a deep breath and letting your chest expand.
Okay, yeah, I can picture that. And then systole is the opposite.
You got it. Systole is the contraction phase when the heart pumps the blood out to the body. Think of it like squeezing a water balloon. The pressure pushes the water out. And those blood pressure readings you see at the doctor's office, they're actually reflecting the pressure in your arteries during these two phases.
So that's what those numbers mean. The top number, systolic pressure, is the pressure when the heart is squeezing. And the bottom number, diastolic pressure, is when it's relaxing.
Exactly. And while we often hear those numbers, what's truly mind-blowing is the sheer volume of blood the heart pumps with each beat.
Okay, I'm all ears. How much are we talking about?
With every single beat, your heart pumps out about 60 to 90 milliliters of blood. That might not sound like a lot, but over a day that adds up to over 5 liters, or about 1.3 gallons.
Whoa, it's like carrying around a gallon of milk in your chest. So what would happen if that pump suddenly stopped?
Well, the consequences are pretty dire. If the heart stops pumping, most people would lose consciousness within about 10 seconds. And without immediate intervention, death would likely occur within minutes due to a lack of oxygen reaching the brain and other vital organs.
That's seriously sobering. It really highlights how crucial this continuous blood flow is. Okay, we've covered the heart, the incredible pump at the center of it all. Let's move on to those blood vessels, the transportation network that carries blood throughout the body.
Yeah, you can think of blood vessels as the intricate roadmap of our circulatory city. And just like in a city, we have different types of roads, highways, streets, and even those tiny alleyways.
So arteries are like the highways, right? They carry blood away from the heart.
Precisely. Arteries have thick, muscular walls built to handle the high pressure of blood being pumped from the heart. They're like those superhighways carrying fresh supplies of oxygen and nutrients to all the cells in the body.
And veins. They bring the blood back to the heart.
You got it. Veins are like the return routes, carrying deoxygenated blood back to the heart for another round of circulation. They have thinner walls than arteries and rely on valves to prevent backflow, kind of like those one-way signs on a road.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about capillaries? They're those tiny vessels, right? What happens there?
Here's where the real magic happens. Capillaries are the microscopic connectors between arteries and veins. They're so small that red blood cells have to squeeze through single file.
Wait, really? Why all the squeeze?
Because that's where the exchange of goods takes place. Imagine capillaries as those tiny alleyways where delivery trucks drop off packages and pick up returns. The capillary walls are super thin, allowing oxygen and nutrients to leak out into the surrounding tissues and waste products to diffuse back in.
It's like a constant supply chain, with deliveries and pickups happening at every single cell in the body. Amazing.
It really is. And to add another layer of complexity, arteries and veins actually have 3 layers in their walls, while capillaries are much simpler with just a single layer of cells.
So we've got the heart pumping, the arteries and veins transporting, and the capillaries doing the crucial exchange. But how does the blood actually circulate through those two circuits, pulmonary and systemic?
Think of it like a figure-8 loop. In pulmonary circulation, deoxygenated blood from the body returns to the right side of the heart and is pumped to the lungs. In the lungs, the blood picks up oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. Then, this freshly oxygenated blood travels back to the left side of the heart.
So that's like a pit stop in the lungs for a fresh supply of oxygen. And then the oxygen-rich blood is ready for the systemic circuit.
Exactly. In systemic circulation, the left side of the heart pumps this oxygenated blood out to the rest of the body through the aorta, the largest artery in the body. From there, the blood travels through a network of arteries, getting smaller and smaller until it reaches those tiny capillaries where the exchange happens.
And then the deoxygenated blood travels back to the heart through the veins, completing the loop. So it's like a continuous cycle, with blood constantly being refreshed in the lungs and then delivered to every corner of the body.
You got it. And it's important to note that the pulmonary artery, which carries blood to the lungs, is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood. And the pulmonary veins, which carry blood back from the lungs, are the only veins carrying oxygenated blood. A bit of an exception to the rule.
All right, I'll try to keep that straight.
Yeah.
So we've covered the heart, the vessels, and the circulation pathways.
Yeah.
But what about the blood itself? What's this life-giving fluid actually made of?
Blood is more than just a red liquid. It's actually considered a fluid tissue composed of plasma and blood cells. Plasma is the liquid part, like the broth of this soup. It carries nutrients, hormones, waste products, and even plays a role in regulating temperature.
Okay, so plasma is the delivery truck carrying all those essential goods. What about the blood cells? What are they up to?
We have 3 main types of blood cells: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. They're like the specialized workers in our circulatory city.
Let's start with the red blood cells, the ones that give blood its color. What's their main job?
Red blood cells, or erythrocytes, are the oxygen carriers. They're packed with hemoglobin, an iron-containing protein that binds to oxygen in the lungs and releases it to the body's tissues. Think of them as tiny delivery vans, each one carrying a precious cargo of oxygen.
And what about those white blood cells? I know they're involved in fighting off infections.
White blood cells, or leukocytes, are the defenders of our circulatory city. They're a diverse group of cells, each with its own specialized function in the immune system.
So some are like the patrol officers, constantly on the lookout for invaders, while others are like the SWAT team, ready to neutralize any threats.
Exactly. And we have different types of white blood cells, each with its own unique weapon and strategy for fighting off invaders. For example, some white blood cells, like neutrophils, are like the first responders, rushing to the site of infection to engulf and destroy bacteria.
Wow, it's like a well-coordinated army with specialized units. And what about those platelets? I know they're involved in blood clotting.
Platelets, or thrombocytes, are the repair crew. They're actually not whole cells, but tiny fragments of cytoplasm derived from larger cells in the bone marrow.
So if we get a cut, these little fragments rush to the scene and patch up the leak.
Precisely. When a blood vessel is injured, platelets stick to the edges of the wound, forming a plug to prevent further bleeding. They also release chemicals that trigger a cascade of reactions, leading to the formation of a fibrin clot.
Fibrin. What's that?
Fibrin is a tough, fibrous protein that forms a mesh-like structure, trapping red blood cells and forming a stable clot. It's like the scaffolding that holds everything together while the damaged blood vessel heals.
So it's like a construction crew coming in to build a temporary bridge while the main road is being repaired.
That's a great analogy. Without platelets and the clotting process, even minor cuts could lead to life-threatening blood loss.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so we've got the plasma, the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets all working together to keep our blood flowing smoothly and protect us from harm. But what about blood types? I know they're important for transfusions.
You're right. Blood types are crucial for safe transfusions. The four main blood groups, A, B, AB, and O, are based on the presence or absence of specific antigens on the surface of red blood cells.
Antigens, what are those exactly?
Think of antigens as tiny ID tags on the surface of cells. In the case of blood types, the A and B antigens determine your blood type.
So if you have the A antigen, you have type A blood. If you have the B antigen, you have type B blood. And if you have both, you have type AB blood.
Exactly. And if you have neither A nor B antigens, you have type O blood.
Okay, that makes sense. But why are these antigens so important for transfusions?
Because if you receive blood with antigens that don't match your own, your immune system will recognize those antigens as foreign invaders and launch an attack. This is called a transfusion reaction, and it can be life-threatening.
Yikes, that's scary. So how do doctors ensure safe transfusions?
They carefully match blood types between the donor and recipient, making sure the antigens are compatible. And there's another factor involved called the Rh factor.
Right, I remember seeing that on my blood donor card, something about being positive or negative. What does that mean?
The Rh factor is another antigen found on red blood cells. If you have it, you're Rh positive. If you don't, you're Rh negative. It's another crucial piece of the compatibility puzzle.
Our notes mention something about a universal donor and a universal recipient. What's that all about?
Ah, that's a key concept. People with type O negative blood are considered universal donors because their red blood cells lack both the A and B antigens and the Rh factor. This means their blood can be given to people with any other blood type without triggering a reaction.
So they're like the superheroes of blood donation. What about the universal recipient?
People with type AB positive blood are the universal recipients. They have both A and B antigens and the Rh factor, so the immune system won't attack any other blood type. However, for safety reasons, transfusions typically use blood that is an exact match whenever possible.
This is all fascinating stuff. It's amazing how these tiny antigens can have such a huge impact on blood compatibility.
Okay, so we've covered the heart, the blood vessels, the blood itself, and even blood types. It's clear that the circulatory system is a complex and vital network, a marvel of biological engineering. But what happens when things go wrong? What are some common disorders that can affect this system?
Unfortunately, quite a few disorders can disrupt the smooth functioning of the circulatory system, and some are more common than you might think. Let's start with one I've definitely heard of, atherosclerosis. What exactly is that?
Atherosclerosis, also known as hardening of the arteries, is a condition where plaque builds up inside the arteries, narrowing the passageway for blood flow. Imagine it like cholesterol gunk slowly accumulating in a pipe, restricting the flow of water.
So it's like a clog in our circulatory plumbing. What causes this plaque buildup?
It's a complex process, but factors like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking, and diabetes can all contribute to its development.
And what's the danger of this plaque buildup?
As plaque accumulates, it can restrict blood flow to vital organs like the heart and brain, leading to serious complications, including heart attack and stroke.
Okay, now those are some serious consequences. So what exactly happens during a heart attack?
A heart attack occurs when blood flow to a part of the heart muscle is suddenly blocked, usually by a blood clot that forms on a ruptured plaque. Without oxygen-rich blood, the heart muscle begins to die, leading to permanent damage.
So it's like a traffic jam in the arteries supplying the heart. And if the blockage isn't cleared quickly, it can cause serious damage.
Exactly. And a stroke is similar to a heart attack, but it affects the brain. When blood flow to a part of the brain is interrupted, brain cells in that area begin to die, leading to a range of neurological deficits, depending on the area of the brain affected.
This raises an important question. What are the symptoms of a heart attack and stroke? Knowing these could literally be life-saving.
Absolutely. For a heart attack, common symptoms include chest pain or discomfort, often described as a feeling of pressure, tightness, or squeezing. This pain may radiate to the arms, jaw, neck, back, or stomach. Other symptoms can include shortness of breath, nausea, lightheadedness, and cold sweats. It's important to note that women may experience different symptoms than men, such as back pain or fatigue.
And what about stroke symptoms? They can be quite varied, right?
Yes, stroke symptoms can differ depending on the area of the brain affected. However, some common signs include sudden weakness or numbness on one side of the body, facial drooping, slurred speech, difficulty understanding speech, sudden vision problems, dizziness, loss of balance, and a severe headache.
Wow, those are some serious signs to watch out for. So we've covered atherosclerosis, heart attack, and stroke. What about heart failure? What is that exactly?
Heart failure is a chronic condition where the heart muscle becomes weakened and can't pump blood as efficiently as it should.
So it's not that the heart stops completely, but it's just not working as well as it used to.
Exactly. It's like a pump that's losing power, struggling to keep up with the demands of the body. This can lead to fluid buildup in the lungs and other parts of the body, causing shortness of breath, fatigue, and swelling. It's a serious condition that requires ongoing medical management.
All right, strap in. This is all pretty heavy stuff, but it's so important to understand these risks. So are there ways to prevent these circulatory system disorders?
The good news is that many of these conditions are preventable or manageable through lifestyle modifications. Our notes mention some key strategies, including dietary changes, exercise, stress management, and of course, smoking cessation.
Let's dive into those a bit. What kind of dietary changes can make a difference for our circulatory health?
One of the most impactful changes is reducing saturated and trans fats, which can raise cholesterol levels and contribute to that plaque buildup in the arteries we talked about. This means cutting back on fried foods, fatty meats, and processed snacks.
So more fruits, veggies, and lean proteins.
Exactly. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean protein sources like fish and poultry can help lower cholesterol and blood pressure, reducing the risk of heart disease.
Okay, that makes sense. What about exercise? How does that benefit our circulatory system?
Regular physical activity strengthens the heart muscle, improves blood flow, and helps manage weight, all of which are crucial for a healthy circulatory system.
So it's like giving our heart a workout, making it stronger and more efficient. How much exercise are we talking about?
Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week. This could be anything from brisk walking to swimming to dancing, anything that gets your heart rate up and makes you break a sweat.
And I imagine stress management is important too, right? Stress can't be good for the heart.
You're right. Chronic stress can raise blood pressure and increase the risk of heart disease. Finding healthy ways to manage stress, like exercise, yoga, meditation, or even just spending time in nature, can have a positive impact on your circulatory health.
And of course, we can't forget about smoking. I know that's a major no-no for a healthy circulatory system.
Absolutely. Smoking damages blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and decreases oxygen levels in the blood, all of which increase the risk of heart attack, stroke, and other circulatory problems.
So quitting smoking is one of the best gifts you can give your heart.
Absolutely. Even if you've been smoking for years, quitting can significantly reduce your risk of heart disease. It's never too late to make that positive change.
This has all been incredibly informative. It's amazing how these seemingly small lifestyle changes can add up to big improvements for our circulatory health. It's like we're taking charge of our own inner city, making sure the streets are clear, the traffic is flowing, and the essential services are running smoothly.
That's a great way to put it. And what's really fascinating is that there's so much more to this circulatory city than meets the eye. We've only just begun to explore its intricate workings and the delicate balance that keeps it all running smoothly.
I'm definitely eager to dive deeper. We've laid a solid foundation here, but I'm curious to learn more about those intricate regulatory mechanisms, those behind-the-scenes players that keep the circulatory system humming along.
We'll definitely get into that in our next segment. We'll delve into how the nervous system, hormones, and even the blood vessels themselves work together to fine-tune blood flow and pressure, ensuring every cell gets exactly what it needs when it needs it.
Sounds like we're about to uncover even more secrets of this amazing circulatory city. Can't wait.
Welcome back. It's really amazing to think about just how much is happening inside us right now.
I know, right?
Even as we're sitting here talking, millions of blood cells are rushing through your blood vessels, delivering oxygen, fighting off invaders. It's like a symphony of activity.
It really is mind-blowing. Speaking of symphonies, I'm really curious to learn more about those regulatory mechanisms you mentioned earlier. How does the body actually control blood flow and pressure? There's not like a little conductor in there waving a baton, is there?
Haha, you're right. No tiny conductor. But there is this complex interplay of nerves, hormones, and even the blood vessels themselves that all work together to maintain this delicate balance.
Okay, that sounds pretty complex. Can you break it down for us? Where do we even start?
Well, let's start with the nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system, that's the part that controls involuntary functions like breathing and heart rate, plays a key role in regulating blood pressure.
So even though we don't consciously think about it, our nervous system is constantly monitoring and adjusting our blood pressure.
Exactly. It does this by sending signals to the heart and blood vessels, either speeding things up or slowing things down as needed.
Okay, so give me an example. Let's say I'm running to catch the bus. How does my nervous system respond to that?
Well, as you start running, your muscles need more oxygen, so your nervous system sends signals to your heart to beat faster, increasing blood flow. At the same time, it signals the blood vessels in your muscles to dilate, that means widen, allowing more blood to reach those working muscles.
So it's like opening up the floodgates to get more oxygen to where it's needed. What about when we're resting? Does the nervous system do the opposite?
Exactly. When you're relaxing, your nervous system slows down your heart rate and constricts, or narrows, your blood vessels, reducing blood flow to conserve energy.
It's like our nervous system is a master conductor, constantly adjusting the tempo and volume of our circulatory symphony.
That's a great way to put it. Now let's move on to hormones. They play a crucial role in this delicate dance of blood flow and pressure regulation.
Okay, I remember from my notes that hormones act like chemical messengers, traveling through the bloodstream and telling different organs what to do, but how exactly do they influence blood pressure?
Think of hormones like special delivery messages, each with instructions for specific targets. For example, adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, is released during times of stress or excitement.
So that's why our hearts race when we're nervous or facing a challenge. It's the adrenaline kicking in.
Exactly. Adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster and your blood vessels to constrict, preparing your body for that fight or flight response. This is why you might feel your blood pressure surge when you're under pressure.
Wow, so it's like our body is preparing us to either face the challenge head on or run away as fast as we can.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Now, another key hormone involved in blood pressure regulation is aldosterone, which is produced by the adrenal glands.
Adrenal glands, those are the ones that sit on top of our kidneys.
Yeah, got it. Aldosterone signals the kidneys to retain salt and water, which increases blood volume and, in turn, raises blood pressure.
Interesting. So it's like aldosterone is telling the kidneys to hold on to more fluid, which increases the volume of blood in circulation.
Precisely. Now, we've talked about the nervous system and hormones, but believe it or not, even the blood vessels themselves play a role in regulating blood flow and pressure.
Wait, really? I thought they were just passive pipes.
Not at all. The walls of blood vessels, particularly arteries, have a layer of smooth muscle that can contract or relax, changing the diameter of the vessel.
So if the smooth muscle contracts, the vessel narrows and blood pressure goes up. And if it relaxes, the vessel widens and blood pressure goes down.
Exactly. This ability of blood vessels to adjust their diameter is called vasoconstriction and vasodilation, and it's a key mechanism for regulating blood pressure locally in specific tissues or organs. It allows the body to fine-tune blood flow to meet the ever-changing needs of different parts of the body.
That's amazing. So we have this incredibly sophisticated system where the nervous system, hormones, and even the blood vessels themselves are all working together to keep everything in balance.
It truly is remarkable, and it's this incredible coordination that allows our circulatory system to adapt to a wide range of situations, from intense physical exertion to quiet rest.
Okay, so we've covered the major players and those regulatory mechanisms, but what about when things go a little off track? We talked about major disorders like heart attacks and strokes, but are there other less dramatic issues that can arise?
Absolutely. There are a number of less severe but still significant conditions that can affect the circulatory system. One you've probably heard of is varicose veins.
Oh yeah, those bulging, twisted veins you sometimes see on people's legs. I've always wondered what causes those.
Varicose veins happen when the valves inside the veins weaken, allowing blood to pool and stretch the veins. Imagine it like a one-way door that doesn't close properly, allowing some things to slip back through in the wrong direction.
So the valves are supposed to keep the blood flowing in one direction, back towards the heart. And when they malfunction, it creates a backup.
Exactly. And while varicose veins are often more of a cosmetic concern, they can sometimes cause pain, swelling, and even ulcers in severe cases.
So what about those spider veins? They're those tiny web-like veins that are often red or blue. Are those similar to varicose veins?
Spider veins are similar in that they involve dilated blood vessels, but they're much smaller and closer to the surface of the skin. They're usually harmless, but can sometimes be a sign of underlying circulatory problems.
Our notes also mention something called Raynaud's phenomenon. What's that all about?
Raynaud's phenomenon is a condition where the small blood vessels in the fingers and toes temporarily constrict, usually in response to cold temperatures or stress. This causes the affected areas to turn white or blue and feel numb or tingly.
So it's like a mini vasoconstriction episode in the extremities.
Precisely. And while it can be uncomfortable, it's usually harmless and resolves on its own. However, in severe cases, it can lead to tissue damage if blood flow is restricted for too long.
Wow, it's amazing how even seemingly minor disruptions in blood flow can have noticeable effects. It really highlights the delicate balance of the circulatory system.
Oh.
So we've talked about the major players, the regulatory mechanisms, and even some of the less dramatic but still important disorders. But I'm curious, what are some of the latest advancements in understanding and treating circulatory system problems?
That's a great question. The field of cardiovascular research is constantly evolving, and there are some really exciting developments happening right now. One area that holds immense promise is stem cell therapy for heart disease.
Stem cells, those are the cells that can develop into different types of cells, right? How are they being used to treat heart problems?
Scientists are exploring ways to use stem cells to repair damaged heart tissue after a heart attack or to regenerate new blood vessels to improve blood flow. The idea is to use these versatile cells to rebuild and revitalize damaged parts of the circulatory system.
That's incredible. It's like using the body's own repair mechanisms to heal itself. What other advancements are on the horizon?
Another promising area is gene therapy, where scientists are trying to manipulate genes to correct genetic defects that can lead to heart problems. The goal is to target the root cause of some circulatory disorders at the genetic level.
Wow, that's really cutting-edge stuff, and I imagine surgical techniques are constantly improving as well.
Absolutely. There are ongoing advancements in minimally invasive surgical techniques, making procedures like angioplasty and heart valve replacement safer and more effective. This means less downtime and faster recovery for patients.
It's inspiring to see how science is constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in treating circulatory system disorders.
Yeah.
But beyond treatments, what about preventative measures? We talked about lifestyle changes earlier, but are there other things people can do to protect their circulatory health?
Absolutely. One of the most important things you can do is know your numbers. This means getting regular checkups to monitor your blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and blood sugar levels.
So early detection is key.
You got it. Catching potential problems early allows for timely intervention, whether it's through lifestyle changes, medication, or other treatments. This can significantly reduce the risk of serious complications down the road.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like being proactive about car maintenance. Regular checkups and early intervention can prevent major breakdowns. And I imagine family history plays a role too, right?
Absolutely. If you have a family history of heart disease or other circulatory problems, it's even more important to be vigilant about your own circulatory health. Talk to your doctor about your family history and any additional screening or preventative measures that might be appropriate.
Okay, so know your numbers, get regular checkups, and be aware of your family history. Anything else we should keep in mind?
One more crucial thing, pay attention to your body's signals. If you experience any unusual symptoms like chest pain, shortness of breath, or persistent fatigue, don't ignore them. See your doctor promptly to rule out any serious problems.
It's always better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to our heart health. So we've covered an incredible amount of ground today, from the intricate workings of the heart and blood vessels to the latest advancements in cardiovascular research. It's clear that the circulatory system is a marvel of nature, a complex and vital network that plays a central role in our overall well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a testament to the incredible resilience and adaptability of the human body.
But it's not just about resilience. It's also about taking proactive steps to support and nurture this incredible system. We've learned that even small changes in our lifestyle can have a big impact on our circulatory health. And that knowledge is truly empowering. Empowering.
Exactly. We're not just passive passengers on this journey. We have the ability to influence our circulatory health through our choices and actions. And as we move into our final segment, we'll explore how this newfound understanding can empower us to live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives.
It's wild, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive into the circulatory system, I'm struck by how often we just take it for granted. Yeah, it's true.
It's chugging along 24/7, literally keeping us alive, and we barely give it a second thought.
We do tend to, yeah.
But as we've seen in this episode, it's such an intricate, complex system, vital to everything we do. I mean, every single cell in our body relies on it.
It does. It does. Every single one relies on the circulatory system to deliver those essential nutrients and oxygen, carry away waste. It's really the lifeline of our existence.
It really is. It's like this massive interconnected web of roads and highways constantly buzzing with activity.
I like it.
And just like a city relies on its transportation system to function properly, so do our bodies.
That's a great analogy. And just like a city can get totally messed up by traffic jams or road closures, our circulatory system, well, it can be affected by blockages and disruptions in blood flow.
Right, but what's incredible is how resilient our bodies are.
They are.
I mean, they often find ways to adapt and compensate for these challenges.
Absolutely.
It's like our bodies have their own internal traffic management system, rerouting blood flow to keep things moving. I like that.
But as we've learned, there are limits, right?
There are.
And when we hit those limits, that's when the serious problems start to pop up.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be proactive about our circulatory health. We can't control everything, of course.
Right.
But there's a lot we can do through the choices we make, support our circulatory system, strengthen it, and we reduce the risk of those problems down the line.
Okay, so as we reach the finish line of this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways you'd like our listeners to walk away with today?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding how the circulatory system works gives you the ability to make better, more informed choices about your own health. You've now got a good grasp of the heart, the blood vessels, the blood itself, even those intricate mechanisms that regulate blood flow and pressure.
It's like having the owner's manual to your own body.
It is. And it can help you spot potential problems early on, understand the importance of prevention, make smarter choices about your lifestyle.
And we've also learned that there's so much we can do to keep our circulatory system healthy and happy, right?
Absolutely. Simple lifestyle changes. Eating a balanced diet, regular exercise, managing stress, and of course, kicking that smoking habit to the curb can have a huge impact. It's really about making small, sustainable changes that add up over time.
I love that. It's like investing in your future well-being. Put in the effort now, reap the rewards of a healthier heart and a stronger circulatory system later.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to start, right?
Never.
Even if you haven't always been the picture of perfect health, you can still make positive changes. Changes that will benefit your heart, your blood vessels. It's never too late.
Could not agree more. Every step you take towards a healthier lifestyle is a step in the right direction. And you don't have to do it alone. There are so many resources out there, so much support, whether it's guidance from your doctor, joining a fitness group, even just confiding in a friend or family member for encouragement.
It's all about building that network of support, just like the intricate network of our circulatory system.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's all just take a moment to appreciate the incredible work our circulatory system is doing right now, without us even having to lift a finger.
It really is amazing, a true marvel of nature. It's a testament to the incredible complexity and resilience of the human body.
Absolutely.
And by understanding and caring for it, we're essentially investing in our ability to live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives.
I love that. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
It has for me, too.
And I hope our listener feels empowered to take charge of their circulatory health. Remember, everyone, you have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely. Take care of your heart, and it will take care of you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible world of the circulatory system.